Welcome to Roosevelt Live. In this segment of the show, we're going to come back. This is twice we talk about the same thing, so nobody think we're watching the same show. But then again, if I was, I'd be wearing the same clothes. So obviously that's not the case. But the Trevon Martin thing has been a big news topic over the last some 45 days, I do believe. And it's kind of interesting because yesterday, of course it'll be a week by the time the show airs, but now since George Zimmerman has been arrested, I know his old lawyers, they talked a lot of nonsense and tried to discourage, well, I wanted to discourage people, tried to convince people that he wasn't in Florida. Clearly he was in Florida, and I understand why they were saying it, but it was, to me, looked like they were spending more time worried about themselves, worried about getting their face on television, worried about boosting up their law career so they could charge more money. That's my opinion. Clearly this lawyer that Zimmerman has now, I mean, I don't know the guy, obviously, but even just listening to him, I'm very impressed with the way he talks. He doesn't do all these theatrics like they were doing, and if he hadn't got a chance to meet with the Zimmerman and talk to him necessarily as he wanted to in depth about what's going on and what happened and what didn't happen, he seemed to be a down-to-earth guy. And I'm sure that he's a piranha like all other lawyers, because he has to be, because when it comes time to defend your client, if it gets to a trial, and it might not, we have to understand that this information might go before a judge, and the judge might decide that they're going to throw it out based on the stand your own ground, or stand your ground. I'm not sure if I understand the stand your ground, because back in season 2 I talked about not having a problem with stand your own ground, because my understanding of it was that in 2005, before that new law, stand your ground, was put into law, we were dealing with this retreat thing, where someone could break in your home, and even when they broke in your home, you had to try to get away from them. And then with no other options, you could perhaps use deadly force. Well, I wasn't for that. I think if you break into my home, I shouldn't have to retreat anywhere. And if I'm retreating, I should be retreating to my weapon only. I don't believe that, I didn't know, or don't believe, or still don't believe that the stand your own ground law is in place to chase people down, to follow people, to get out and go and question people like you have the authority to do so, as Zimmerman says he didn't do it, but we do know, like we spoke in the last 2 weeks, that Zimmerman did get out of his vehicle. We know that he was following Trevon at some point because he admitted to it. Now, of course, it's in his best benefit to say, oh, I stopped, I lost him. How you going to lose him? You live there. You got to know the area, surrounding area. I mean, his father and his father's girlfriend lived there, but he lived in actually Miami, so he would be less likely to know the surroundings of the property than Zimmerman would, since he proclaimed himself as the neighborhood watchman, or captain of the neighborhood watch, or whatever. So he would know every in and out of the building, I would assume, if he was doing his job like he says he had. And I would assume that his defense would be obvious to say, hey, somehow I was going back to my vehicle and I was attacked from behind for no apparent reason. Some guy that just went to get some Skittles and an iced tea for his brother, from what I understand, and was going to watch the second half of the NBA All-Star game that was on that Sunday, from what I understand, decided all of a sudden he was just going to attack a stranger and start fighting. Zimmerman is saying that because he wants to make sure he's the only person left that we know of that know what happened. Now, maybe some other witnesses, I'm not sure. But all I'm saying is that when I supported stand your ground, I did not support it on the thought that that you could go and follow people that doesn't have weapons, that hadn't done anything to you, and then wind up killing somebody. And from the timeline that they did on Anderson 360 the other night, they showed the timeline, so it's not my timeline, it's their timeline. The initial 911 call came in at 7:09. Shot fired at 7:16. Police arrived on scene at 7:17. That's 7 minutes between the time that the 911 call was placed and the shot went off. 7 minutes. What happened in 7 minutes that made him pull a weapon, and assume he had a safety on the 9mm, I don't know, take the safety off, or didn't have the safety on, or he took the safety off before he even got close to Trevon, and a gunshot went off? What happened? We know that there was some type of altercation because we could hear someone in the background making almost like a crying sound for help. Of course, Zimmerman says that's him. I don't know who it is. Of course, his family says it's him. Trevon family says it's him. Well, one of them it isn't, and I don't know which one it is, because I don't know Trevon, don't know his voice, have no idea, and don't know Zimmerman his voice either. One of these people was crying out for help, and one of these people was silenced forever. And this is what happened when you take the law into your own hands. Because if he'd have waited 1 minute later, the cops came on the scene. Because they came on the scene according to the timeline at 7:17. So if they were there at 7:17, the shot went off at 7:16, and the 911 call came in at 7:09. If he would have waited 1 minute, Trevon would be alive today, and he wouldn't be in jail. And his parents wouldn't be going through what they're going through, and his family wouldn't be going through what they're going through, and Trevon's family wouldn't be going through what they're going through. And I heard people say that, you know, Zimmerman's life has been turned upside down, and Zimmerman can't do this. Trevon is dead. So you have to be careful when you're comparing a life with a death. Then there's no comparison. It doesn't matter what happened. Like Trevon's mother said, I can't call my son anymore. Your parents still can call you. Even if he goes to prison, they can come see him. She can't come see her son. She can at the gravesite, but he can't react, and she can't see his face. He can't communicate. This is a tragedy all the way around. Nobody's going to win. If Zimmerman does get off, and I don't believe it will be because he was innocent, I believe because the San Francisco Police Department is crap. That's what I believe. It's my opinion. Because I find a hard time believing that they found no probable cause whatsoever, but yet the governor puts in a special prosecutor, and not only they found probable cause, they charge him with second-degree murder. How do you get second-degree murder and an arrest out of someone that how do you do a 7-hour investigation? How could you do that? I don't understand. I'm not a police officer, no I'm not, but I'm not an idiot. So, no charge at all. 7 hours later, you were able to identify the body. They must have, which we know they didn't, talk to the young lady that I know of that was on the phone with him, interviewed her. Her information alone should have told him something, but I don't think they did that either. It seems to me that they, I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at Zimmerman. I'm looking at the video, and I said, okay. He must have had. He must not been beat to a pulp, as they say, because he had the fortitude at some point. Either he did it or it was already like that. His shirt was tucked neatly in his pants. His belt was neatly around his waist. The jacket was on. He even had the fortitude to stop between the doors when he came in to clean his feet on the rug. How do you do that when you've been beat, as his brother said, to the point that he would have continued, that he would have had to be in diapers for the rest of his life? Well, he seemed incoherent to me. He didn't seem to have a concussion. They weighed off the ambulance, so we know that the ambulance did not come and take him to the hospital. So I don't know if I can buy this stuff that he was beat so severely that he felt the need to pull out a gun and shoot someone point blank in the chest and take their life. I didn't see any blood on his shirt. It may have been suspects on there. I didn't have a close-up. I don't know. I think the police department simply said, hey, look, we ain't got nothing to worry about. We're just going to let this go. Don't worry about it. Just let him go. 7 hours. How you do an investigation in 7 hours? Because you would have had to go back the next day. You should have gone back. There was cameras up on those buildings. Now, whether those cameras seen anything or not, I don't know. But they would have had to go and contact someone that had the cameras up, find out what it may or may not picked up. They would have to canvass the neighborhood and go through and talk to everybody in that complex and find out who was when and when was where and why come and why not. It couldn't have happened in 7 hours. It couldn't have happened. They didn't do the job. Point blank, period, and to the point. There's no sense of sugarcoating. I know I listened to the special prosecutor last night, and I know that she said, well, when they asked that question, she kind of, veered off from it because after all, she's a prosecutor and they all work together with the police department, and they don't want to really well to bad mouth the police department. I understand that. But it's utter nonsense that they expect us to believe that they did an investigation in 7 hours. After they take the American public for a fool. Well, the American public are not fools, at least not to the degree they thought we may have been fools. I'm not a fool, period. But he's been arrested now. I don't know what's going to happen. I would not be surprised if he didn't go to jail because I really believe some of the evidence was lost when they didn't do their job. But we'll find out. She just charged him with second-degree murder. We'll find out what happens. Somebody lost their child. And like I said again, there's no win here because their child is lost, and if he goes to prison, then his parents lose their child, at least to the degree that he can't get out of prison. But I don't know what's going to happen. Only time I'm going to tell, apparently he's going to stay in jail until at least May the 29th, when I guess he'll have an arraignment. And then at that time, he'll put in a plea. And I'm sure he's going to be able to put in a plea to not guilty. Because they know the plea he could put in, but not guilty. I mean, he could put in guilty, but that would be a disaster for himself. And it would take the case in a different realm, I'm sure. But, I don't want to beat this case to death. But, people have been asking and wondering, and why do so many people get involved, and why do so many people take this personally? Because I believe that when I hear people say stuff like, I am Trevon, I do know what they talk about because I have been there. I have been arrested by the police. I have been looked at suspiciously when I went places. And I don't feel like I'm a suspicious looking person. I think my son probably loses his mind because I must say to him on a daily basis, be careful, don't do this, don't do that, don't put that cell phone in your pocket. He'll tell you this if you ever asked him. Don't put that cell phone in your pocket, it's too bulky. If the police officer stop you and you go in your pocket, something might happen. I believe that. I believe that. Is it justified? It depends. If you've been in my shoes, perhaps it's justified. And if you haven't, I'm sure it won't be. Because people that haven't been in your shoes, it's never justified. But my pattern of thinking is based on my experiences in life. And I've had quite a few of those throughout my life. In Florida, and definitely when I lived in Alabama. And Alabama was a disaster. Every time you went somewhere, coming home from high school basketball practices and summer basketball practices and having officers pull me over for no apparent reason and then have me to sit there in my car until they ate their lunch an hour later and then say, okay, you can go. Having officers pull me over when I'm walking home and shine a big spotlight on me and questioning where I'm coming from and accusing me of shirt being dirty, you look, you've been climbing through windows and all these accusations. I've never been in trouble with the law under no circumstances. But as a kid, I suffered a lot of that innuendo stuff. Being pulled over as a kid on my motorcycle and being questioned about my motorcycle. When did I get it? And this and that and the other. Just nonsense. The motorcycle was brand new. But yet, I was being questioned about it. Like it wasn't mine or something. So I speak from personal experiences. And I take those personal experiences and I pass them on to my sons. And because of my own personal experiences, I'm afraid for them. I'm afraid, well, my other son's the only one left at home now as he's in college. He's the only one there. I'm afraid for him. I'm always saying, you got too much stuff in your pocket. You got too much stuff in your pocket. You got too much stuff in your pocket. Your pocket look too bulky. Don't have bulky pockets. Somebody might think you're carrying a weapon. Be careful if the police officer stop you for any reason. Don't stick your hand in your pocket. And God forbid, basically don't pull your hand out of it unless he tell you to. Definitely don't pull your hand out and bring out a cell phone because people have preconceived thoughts. And if you don't, you can't bring back somebody on an accident. I don't believe that George Zimmerman got out of his car with the intent in mind to go shoot Trevon Martin. But he did get out of his vehicle against the advice of the 911 operator with a weapon. He did do that. And when you bring a weapon out, and now he's saying, hey, you know what, he attacked me from behind. I don't believe that, but I can understand why he would say it, because I'm sure he figured there was no other witnesses. At least he didn't see anybody at the time. Perhaps. At no time have they ever mentioned that someone else was around. So, hey, maybe he was losing the fight. I don't know. Maybe in losing the fight, he decided that he had to get even somehow. Or shooting someone, I never knew what to be an even fight. But it happens every day. There's a lot of Trevon Martins out here. Not just that one out of Sanford, Florida, or via Miami. So, when I look at the case, I don't have any ill feeling toward George Zimmerman. I don't know that man. Maybe I would if he had shot my son. Matter of fact, I take that back. I would if he had shot my son. And I commend the family of Trevon because they've been very civil and they have been very calm most of the time. I mean, because it wouldn't have been me, because I would have let everybody know that I wanted revenge through the courts, not of my own militia, but through the courts for what happened if it happened to my son. I couldn't have been sitting there. It's nice and calm. I'm sure at the advice of their lawyers, perhaps they want them to, to maintain calm and collectively, so they not look like they're out for blood. I know that they've been saying all we want is an arrest, You want a conviction, but they know a conviction can't come without an arrest. But they want more than just an arrest. You want a conviction, but the arrest comes first. One, that has to come before there'll be even an opportunity for a conviction. Zimmerman might get off. I wouldn't be surprised. Casey Anthony got off, and that was a shocker. So if he gets off, I wouldn't be surprised. But then we're going to have even more problems, because you can't just go around shooting people. I don't advocate that. I never have. I never would. We can't be having martial law in the streets. People just go around shooting people for no apparent reasons. You know, there's a lot of people out there that's lost family members to violence. I have friends, family of my own, basic family, cousins and stuff, but people that's near and dear to my own heart that has lost their family members at the hands of a weapon from another. So a lot of people can sympathize when they see someone lose their family member, because it reminds them of the family member they lost. And then the anger inside of them builds up, because it's the anger from losing their own family member that they're thinking about. And so they lash out because of that. Anytime you lose a family member, a close friend perhaps, even a co-worker, it is a devastating thing. We all have to understand that. There is no winners here. It's only losers. His family is losing, but they didn't lose entirely like the Martin family. They lost their son. I heard someone say that, what was he doing in that neighborhood? What neighborhood? I heard someone say that Zimmerman had the right to be there. The last time I checked, we can go into any neighborhood we want to go into that is not locked, like some gated communities. They got security there, and only the people that live there or are doing business in that neighborhood can be in there. If the neighborhood is open, even if he didn't live there, it's not relevant. He can't take a. You know, anytime I took a stroll through neighborhoods, walking, maybe for exercise purposes or just to get out and get some fresh air. What if people just started shooting me because I was walking through a neighborhood that I didn't live in? It doesn't make any difference. This is stupid. You just got people out here that just ain't got common sense at the end of the day. I don't know what prompted Zimmerman to do what he did that night. I don't know what prompted him to say the things he said on the 911 tapes. I don't know. But his actions, as far as I'm concerned, caused another person to lose their life. And like I said in the show before, Trevon at 17 will never graduate high school. Trevon will never get married. Trevon will never have kids. Trevon will never have another girlfriend. Trevon will never purchase a home. Trevon will never get a job. Trevon will never have a bank account. Trevon will never go to another sporting activity. And the list will go on and on and on and on and on. Somebody might try to argue and say if Zimmerman is convicted, neither will he. Well, he already had some 28 years of age, so he had some advantages over Trevon as far as getting an opportunity to live on this earth. But the bottom line is, when you blood test or alcohol test, if it's true, a dead person, and don't do anything to the person that actually pulled the trigger, then the Sanford Police Department should be shut down. Should be shut down. Because clearly there's a problem over there with whomever's supposed to be in charge. Clearly the mayor made it clear that he had a vote of no confidence in the sheriff. And if the mayor says I don't have confidence in the sheriff, and the city manager is not firing him, then the city manager needs to be fired too. Because the city manager and the mayor obviously don't see eye to eye. That's my opinion. We all entitled to those opinions. One thing about life is that when we start taking opinions away from people, that's when life gets bad. You always got to have opinions. No matter where you at and where you go, you should be entitled to those. I'm entitled to mine. I'm not asking anybody to agree with my opinion. I don't really care if they do or don't. It's not relevant to me if someone agrees with me, because it's my opinion. I'm going to stick by it. I'm going to stand by it. And I'm going to uphold what I believe. I wouldn't care if the whole world stood on one side and I stood on one side by myself. I'm not one of those people that can be shaken or stirred. It's just not me. There are some people in the world, they can have an opinion, and then when people rise up against that opinion, they get nervous and then they start to back off their own opinions. That's not me. I can't back off my opinion. My opinion is my opinion, and it ain't going to be anything else but that. So that's how I see things. But what we're going to do, we're going to give people that don't know what's going on with the Roosevelt Live Show. Never heard of it before. I want you to know that we on every Wednesday at 6:30, and we play to 7:30. We repeat this up on Friday, 6:30, 7:30. And we also, you can always, if you want to comment on something I said, feel free to email me, liveroosevelt@gmail.com. Or you can go out there on YouTube and check out segments of the show. That's YouTube/Roosevelt Live. I'm Roosevelt, and I'm your host of Roosevelt Live.